Students, welcome to today's class. As you recall, the last 2 weeks we've spoken about the court of first instance. We spoke about the appeals court, the Supreme Court. By now, you all are aware that the court of first instance is the lowest court where murders, rapes, robberies, embezzlement is heard. You also know that the appeals court is the court that reviews decisions made by the court of first instance. You also are aware that the highest court in the Dutch kingdom is the Supreme Court, located in the Netherlands, our mother country. That court reviews or upholds, overturns cases of the appeals court. You also know that there is a person who investigates complaints against the government. And you know that individual is called an ombudsman. So today's topic we're going to talk about the budget of St. Maarten. It's the topic for today. Now, what is a budget, you're probably wondering. Now, a budget is a plan that includes a list of money that you're going to spend on. So for example, if your salary is $2,000 a month, you have $500 to pay rent, maybe $300 is allocated to pay your utility bills, water, electricity, that's the word utility, we call it GB, our company. You have money to pay for food, you have money reserved for transportation. So it's a plan on the income, your expenses that you make. Now, we also use the term deficit. You know, the governments often use the terms deficit. And what is a deficit? Basically, if your income is less than your expenses. So if you're a country and your expenses is $500 million, but in the month of October, your income was $480 million. So you're missing $20 million. That's a deficit. Now, on the other hand, if your income was $500 million, your expenses was $500 million, but your income was $550 million, which means you generated, you collected, you made $550 million. You have $50 million extra, and that's what we call a surplus. Now, you heard me use the term expenses. Expenditures is also another word for expenses. You also have the terms money that government generates, and we also call that income. And also income can relate to your salary. So if you make a salary every month, we call that an income. Now, we also have a term called debt. Governments has debts. People have debts. Now, on a personal explanation for you, if you go to the bank and you need to borrow money to deal with an issue, that is called a loan. The loan, the money you owe to the bank, is called a debt. Now, countries can also owe loans to another country. So in our case in St. Maarten, we are aware that we have a financial crisis, a health and an economic crisis. And in recent years, the government of St. Maarten has received funding from the Dutch government and in the form of loans. So they owe the Dutch government money for various reasons. And now those are examples of a debt, or debts I should say. Now, the government of St. Maarten collects revenues, incomes from various or different sources. One of them is the turnover tax. The turnover tax is a tax that you pay on various items. As a matter of fact, the turnover tax, according to experts, economic experts, was supposed to be a tax that business owners made when they turn over a certain amount of money. So for example, if they made 1,000 guilders, they were supposed to pay a certain percentage of that themselves. But experts have argued that this is passed on to us The people who buy stuff, buy items, we call them consumers. And the turnover tax is at 5%. So that's the turnover tax. Then we also have what we call the income tax. Now the income tax is a tax you pay every time you get a salary. So for example, if your salary every month is $3,000, then you would pay 30% of that salary in an income tax. You'll be taxed for that, and that's income tax. As a matter of fact, according to several experts and according to some reports in the last few years, most of the government revenue income comes from the income tax and the turnover tax. Stay tuned for the second segment of the budget of St. Maarten, which is today's objective. Stay tuned for the second video. Thank you for listening thus far, my second farmers.